This morning, a Texas teenager has members of Congress rising above politics. Ted Cruz on the emerging issue that she brought forward that now has him working across the aisle. Texas Democrats preparing to defend IVF, in vitro fertilization. State Rep Mihaela Plesa shares her own journey and why she says her seat is not as vulnerable this November as Republicans think. Dallas City Council sending a message to state lawmakers on marijuana. Councilman Chad West in studio on that issue and why he says changes to the city charter are only self-serving for the council members themselves. And the roundtable remembers Kinky Friedman, satirist and musician who used some of the most colorful phrases when he ran for Texas governor in 2006.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning, I'm Jason Whiteley. To start the program here with some of the political headlines you might have missed over the last week. The federal investigation into Ken Paxton still appears to be underway. We know this from a filing by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It did not mention Paxton by name, but it does refer to an ongoing FBI investigation. Dates and details line up with the federal corruption investigation against Ken Paxton. The Fifth Circuit, in that filing, though, said Paxton, his office could not use attorney-client privilege to withhold evidence, dealing him a blow. We are remembering Kinky Friedman this weekend here, the satirist, musician, and former candidate for Texas governor. Kinky ran in 2006 as an independent. He finished last, but got a lot of attention for a number of things, including his colorful phrases on his bumper stickers like Kinky for governor. Why the hell not? A friend says Friedman smoked a cigar, went to bed, and never woke up at his family's ranch outside San Antonio. He was 79 and had been suffering from Parkinson's disease the last few years. And it has taken more than 2 years now, but families in Uvalde are getting some accountability for the law enforcement failures in 2022. A grand jury indicted the school district police chief, Pete Arredondo, and another officer. The charge is injury of a child by omission. Arredondo claimed police couldn't get into the shooter in the classroom because the doors were locked. Evidence, though, did not support his claims. Let's start this morning with an issue that's uniting Democrats and Republicans. It's AI, artificial intelligence. It stands to improve a lot of things in our lives, but a Texas teenager discovered the worst of it. A classmate took her pictures off Instagram and had AI create nude images with them. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz has gotten a bipartisan group together trying to make that illegal, and Cruz spoke to my colleague Jason Wheeler.
Senator, thanks so much for being here with us. This is the first field hearing that you have held as a senator. Talk a little bit about why with this issue in particular in this legislation.
Obviously, we did this in Texas, in North Texas. One of our witnesses, Elliston Berry, lives in Aledo, lives not too far away from here. And so she was able to come and tell her story. And this is something that impacts Texans all across the state. And so I think it was valuable to listen. We do lots of hearings in Washington where witnesses testify, but to do it here at home where Texans could come and hear and listen and listen firsthand to the challenges that young people are facing, that teenage girls are facing, that women are facing, and the need to do more to keep them safe.
Let's talk about deep fakes here, just because for people who aren't familiar with these, there are very powerful tools to create these. It is extremely easy to do, and up to now, and including now, even if you're targeting a minor with these things, it's been easy to get away with.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, you've always had the ability to do, say, a Photoshop, but the past versions of it have been pretty technologically clunky, that if you take my head and put it on Arnold Schwarzenegger's body, no one's going to believe it. And you know, what AI enables you to do, what deep fakes can do is create either images or videos that anyone watching would believe was real. That in these instances, what the deepfake apps did is they didn't attach the girls' heads to someone else's body, but rather they created an approximation of their actual naked body. I mean, that's a violation when you have a computer basically saying this is what this child looks like naked. That is designed to embarrass, to violate, to exploit the victim.
This is pretty advanced stuff. As you've been going through the process with this, have you gotten a sense of how widespread this is?
We don't have exact numbers, and many of the victims never report it. So we
because
know.
Of the shame.
Yeah, we know that what we're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. We have seen that the victim advocacy groups are reporting thousands upon thousands of instances. You heard in the field hearing where I asked about the sexual assault hotline, and they said in the past few days they'd had, I think, 36 reports of it in the past few days. So that is one snapshot of the frequency of it, and again with the caveat that there are many more that we don't know about.
This will hold tech companies accountable, something that we haven't seen up to now.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them policing themselves on this. Have you been hearing from the tech companies? Has there been pushback here on this?
You know, there hasn't yet. I don't know if they will push back or not. I hope they don't. I mean, this is the right thing to do. If there's any modicum of corporate responsibility and integrity, the right thing for the tech companies to say is we want this bill because it's a rule that makes sense. I hope that's where they end up, at least to date. Now, we just rolled this out, so this bill is brand new, but at least to date, big tech has not been lobbying against it. And look, when this came out, we very deliberately built a broad array. We came out with 14 co-sponsors in the Senate, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. My lead partner is Amy Klobuchar, Democrat from Minnesota. Amy has a lot of respect and credibility among Democrats. I have at least some among Republicans. The two of us together, I think coming out with that many co-sponsors and that broad a coalition helps this bill gain real momentum.
Senator, I know we're out of time. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Really appreciate it.
You should hear the teenage girl at the center of this issue. It's Elliston Berry. She's 15, very outspoken about what happened to her, and she's on this week's episode of Yolitics talking about it and the bipartisan legislation. That episode of Yolitics and all episodes ready to download wherever you get your podcasts. But let's bring in the roundtable right now to talk about the politics of this. Bud Kennedy is here from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. We have Matthew Watkins, the managing editor at the Texas Tribune in Austin, and Bernadine Steptoe, political producer at WFAA in Dallas. But this is a very serious issue. But here we are in an election. Ted Cruz working with Amy Klobuchar, very liberal member of the Senate. How much of this is politics?
Well, it's a very sympathetic issue for voters. It's a very smart issue for Ted Cruz to raise. He's picked a 14-year-old girl in Aledo, a growing suburb, but it's a dark red suburb in Texas. He needs suburban voters. He needs parents on his side from the suburbs. It also is a little bit of that rural appeal. The people who don't want something like this happening to their child. The real telling thing in this story is that Taylor Swift is able to get hers taken down in a matter of minutes, and she had to go to Senator Cruz to get hers taken down.
Matthew, is this a new leaf for Ted Cruz, or is this just him trying to get reelected?
Well, you know, he has really tried this election season to push a bipartisan message. He's talked about working with Kirsten Gillibrand, working on this bill, working with Henry Cuellar down in near the border in Laredo. You know, he has a Democrats for Cruz group. In this race against Colin Allred, he really seems to want to try to make the case that he's not just the partisan bomb thrower that people see him as, that when there's an issue that he can work together with them on, that he will work with Democrats on that issue.
And Bernadine, this is a very good issue.
It's a very good issue, as well as it raises the question, why would a law be required to force tech companies to take down pictures such as these? So it's an excellent issue. It also shows again that he is not taking Allred lightly, because he's working across the aisle, and it allows Democrats to work across the aisle as well.
All right, a lot more ahead, including this. When we come back this morning, some proposals to change the city charter in Dallas are nothing but self-serving for city council. So says Councilman Chad West. Our interview with him is coming up. And State Rep Mihaela Plesa says Democrats must defend IVF, in vitro fertilization, when the legislature returns next year. Inside Texas Politics, back in a moment. Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. Back in March, State Senator Brian Hughes told us here on the program that Texas Republicans would not try to ban in vitro fertilization next session. Politics moves fast, though, and Republicans in Congress have now targeted IVF. State Rep Mihaela Plesa is our next guest this morning, a Democrat representing part of Plano. Representative, welcome back to the program. I want to talk to you about reproductive rights right out of the gate here. Republicans are targeting IVF, in vitro fertilization. Do you expect that to be an issue in Texas next session? And if so, do Democrats have any chance of countering it?
Well, if you don't think that IVF is going to be an issue, then you haven't been paying attention. As someone that has been undergoing my own fertility journey, I am very afraid for what is coming down the pipe as far as extremist Republicans in our state. And it's not just in vitro fertilization. It's all different types of alternative reproductive technologies. So this is artificial insemination. This is surrogacy. And when families are undergoing infertility, they need to have all options on the table to make it less burdensome for them, not just emotionally and physically, but also financially. IVF is very rarely covered under any insurance plan. These are parents that are desperately wanting to start their family. So I definitely believe it's at risk, and people should be paying attention.
Leadership, of course, in the House is going to determine what happens with a lot of these issues. Dade Phelan likely is running again. Do you think he can get reelected?
Well, we are really a long way from January, and I believe that the person that is going to hold the gavel to the people's house needs to be someone that's really a representative of the people. I know that there's a lot of Republicans talking back and forth as what they would like to see in a speaker. Democrats are talking about the same thing, what they would like to see in a speaker. Currently, we have 64 Democrats in the House. We need 76 to elect a Speaker of the House. And so, it is going to be a bipartisan coalition that elects the Speaker.
Your district has been listed as one of the Republicans' best opportunities to flip a Democratic seat.
Yeah, that's what they say. We do the work. They said that last cycle. I was outfunded 4-1. We won because we knocked on every door. We talked to every voter. We're in our communities. I'm from my community. And we're gonna do the work, and we're gonna win in November, because these races are showing that people are tired of the divisiveness. They want a government that works for them. I'm really proud that I didn't just get elected. I was effective. I was the Democratic Freshman of the Year for the LSG, a nonpartisan policy group. I was able to author as a freshman 2 bills that were signed by the governor and pass a $6.2 million budget rider for early childhood intervention care, the first increase in 10 years. We're talking about things that are having real differences in people's lives, not this nonsense that the Republicans talk about that really have nothing to do with the kitchen table issues.
Representative, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, Jason. You have a wonderful day.
Dallas City Council taking July off for summer break, but when they return, council members face a lot of big decisions, whether to change the city charter, give themselves a pay raise, more power, and move local elections to November. Plus, whether to decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. That issue is where we started with Dallas Councilman Chad West. Councilman, good to see you here. Dallas is talking about decriminalizing marijuana. The DA and police chief want it to be 2 ounces or less, but petitioners are asking for 4 ounces or less. How does this end up, do you think?
Yeah, so Ground Game Texas is a statewide organization. They've done this in other states. They are dead set on the 4 ounces or less provision, which is a Class A misdemeanor level in the state. They have gathered over 50,000 signatures, at least 21,000 of which they have claimed that they have verified, which are valid. All they need is 20,000 signatures to force a referendum on the ballot. So, meaning council has no discretion. We must, by law, put it on the ballot. Put it on the ballot.
But there's no chance that the council might put a 2 ounces restriction on the ballot as well.
It is a discussion we can have in August. I don't know the temperature of council on that right now. I'm definitely open to that discussion, though.
Decriminalizing marijuana is passed in Austin. It failed in San Antonio. How would it help Dallas taxpayers, though, if it passed here?
Well, if it passed, it would immediately, I assume, we would be sued by Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, to not be able to enact it. So, because it isn't legal statewide. So what it would really do is just send a message to the state that we do want to see marijuana law reform in the state. There are proven studies that the It's a huge drain on our public safety resources, our time that our police spend having to process all of these claims, and it's something that could save the taxpayers money. And why would we not want to regulate it and tax it if we have that opportunity?
The charter amendments at City Council is something that's kind of been out there for a while now. You guys punted this decision on a number of issues down the road until after your July break, until August. Let me ask you what you think happens to these issues. Pay raises for council, that's one of the ideas. What happens with that?
I'm going to say collectively that this charter package that I have seen that's actually risen up out of the straw votes is the most self-serving piece of legislation I've ever seen in my 5 years in office. It is it's a disappointment in what's already risen up, that it mostly benefits council members, and it benefits little things like how we run meetings. It doesn't benefit the voters as a whole. I'm really disappointed that there was not support from my colleagues to support November odd year elections. There was no support, or very little support, for ranked choice voting, and I just think those are things that can make it easier for voters to actually vote. It will help increase our voter turnout. We've seen in Mesquite it doubled their voter turnout when they moved their elections to November, and the same in Houston. They have double the voter turnout we do for municipal elections by simply having their elections in November versus May.
Permitting has been a huge problem for Dallas for several years now. The city has plans to combine the departments responsible for urban planning and for permitting. How is this going to help?
I think it's a brilliant move on Kim Tolbert's part.
The interim city manager.
The interim city manager. It is something that a lot of developers have been asking for, because they will get one answer from the planning department, which used to be in one silo, another answer from development services on their projects. And now everyone's going to be working together with a unified front. Our permitting department is the gateway for the city's taxes, our property taxes, which pay for police, fire, parks, libraries, all the stuff that's important to us, our street repairs. It's our gateway to construction jobs, and it's our gateway to new housing, which we desperately need. It's got to be the most impactful department in the city. It should be the major leagues of the city of Dallas, where everybody wants to work, because it's the best department.
How long does it take to get this all ironed out? Dallas has been dealing with this since COVID. With the delays in permitting.
It has, and we are seeing some positive trends that are coming up. I get way less calls than I used to get from home builders and people who renovate houses, and so I see some positive trends there. I think some of the bigger projects that deal with what we call the Q team, because it's so complicated, we are still seeing some delays there, and I'm personally looking at those, because those are the big projects that bring in the bigger tax revenue for the city.
Councilman, thanks for the time.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
The
roundtable is ready when we come back. All right, time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Joining us as always, we have Bud, Matthew, and Bernadine. Let's talk about the presidential debate on Thursday night. Joe Biden at the State of the Union, Bud, delivered a strong performance. Joe Biden at the first debate was disastrous.
Oh, Jason, this was like, the bull in the china shop against the deer in the headlights. And you saw it wound up, it was a disaster from the get-go. It really dispirited a lot of Democratic voters, but the only person who'll decide whether he's ready to make any changes or step out of the campaign is Jill Biden. She doesn't seem in any way like she's interested in having him step out of the campaign.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Matthew, that would even happen when we're 4 months right now away from the election.
Yeah, and it's just not great to even have that be a subject of conversation 4 months out of the election. If people are that concerned about your viability as a candidate, not a great sign. But 4 months is a long time. There will be other debates. He will really need to have a strong performance in those to erase this narrative.
Bernadine, does he show up at the second debate, though?
That's a question.
Do you think he does?
Well, initially, my thinking was that as a campaign, I would not put him back out, because he did so poorly. But keep in mind, it's the first debate. And I'm also hearing that they need to, but not if he's going to perform the same way that he did. But keep in mind, it is a long time. It's his first debate, and he did do well when he was out initially, but they must work on him. But I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair.
What's unfair?
That the Democrats, that his own party is talking about replacing him. Because one thing about the Republicans and former President Donald Trump, I don't care what he does. You do not hear them talking about removing him or saying anything negative about him. So the Democrats are doing more of a disservice to President Biden than the Republicans.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's all just talk, quick reaction right now.
Oh, it's definitely talk.
Yeah,
He's there because there isn't anybody else who can beat Trump, and it may be there isn't anybody.
It sounds like that. But I want to ask you about Kinky Friedman. He's somebody you covered. He was a writer, a musician, and he ran for governor and really kind of upended the 2006 gubernatorial race in this state.
He ran for governor. He only got 12-13%, but what he did, he picked up a lot of rural independent vote. Everybody thought at the beginning, oh, he'll get all these progressive liberals, Molly Ivins, for instance. He wound up getting a lot of his votes in rural Texas. He took more votes from Rick Perry than he did from Chris Bell. He drove Rick Perry down to 39%. He also established that you can put a nickname on the ticket, Kinky, but not a slogan. Carol Keaton, Rylander, Strayhorn wanted to be known as Grandma on the ballot. They didn't let her do that.
And she was one of the other 4 candidates running. Matthew, briefly here, how do you think that Texas political history is going to remember Kinky Friedman?
Yeah, I've been wondering a lot of, was he a relic of a past time? This was a time when Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura were winning statewide races elsewhere. Or was he kind of ahead of his time? Bud mentioned that kind of populist rural support that he got, a kind of an outsider candidate. Sounds a little bit familiar to some of the politicians we hear about these days.
20 seconds
And
left, Bernadine.
He brought fun to the campaign.
He did bring fun.
You had fun watching him, with him campaigning or whatever, and that's something that you're missing right now.
Jason, he said he won everywhere except in Texas.
All right, good deal.
See, fun.
Guys, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching as well. We're back next Sunday to take you inside Texas politics and hope to see you then. Take care.